The night was quiet over the red desert of Earth's western lands. The stars were sharp and bright, and a single wind moved over the dunes. A man named Ryan walked slowly, carrying a small tool pack on his shoulder. He worked as a field engineer who repaired signal towers that connected small towns to the global net. He liked this kind of work because it gave him time alone under the wide sky. That night, something strange caught his eye. A bright light tore through the darkness and crossed the sky like a white scar. It was not a shooting star. It moved too slow, too heavy, and then it broke into two glowing parts before vanishing behind the hills. A dull sound followed, like thunder trapped inside the sand. Ryan froze for a moment. Then his curiosity pushed him to move. He started walking fast toward the place where the light had fallen. After 10 minutes, the smell of burnt metal reached him. He found a deep trench in the sand, and at the end of it, something large was half buried. It looked like a craft, silver and broken, glowing faintly blue under the moonlight. He stepped closer and felt the heat coming from the wreck. The surface was smooth and strange, not like any aircraft he had ever seen. When he leaned forward, he saw marks on the hull that looked like symbols, not letters, but something alive and flowing. A weak sound came from inside the wreck. It was not the sound of a machine. It was a voice, soft and uneven. Ryan's heart began to race. He climbed up the side of the craft and found a small opening. Smoke came out and the air inside smelled of burnt ozone. He used his flashlight to look in. The beam showed a small figure trapped under a broken piece of metal. It was not human. The skin was pale blue, the hair silver white, and the eyes large and faintly glowing. The figure moved weakly and whispered something he could not understand. For a long moment, Ryan stood still, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The voice came again, weak but clear this time. "Please help," it said. The words were rough, but in English. Ryan blinked and pulled himself inside. He tried to lift the metal piece, but it was too heavy. He looked around and found a lever that had broken off near the seat. Using it as a tool, he pressed it under the wreckage and pushed with all his strength. The metal groaned, then moved slightly. The figure pulled its leg free with a small cry of pain. "Stay still," Ryan said. "You're hurt." The alien looked at him with wide eyes. "You are human," she whispered. "Yes," Ryan said. "And you need help." The air inside the ship was growing hotter, and small sparks danced across the panels. Ryan knew the wreck might explode. He pulled the alien close and climbed out of the hole, his arms shaking from the effort. He laid her on the sand a few meters away. The ship began to hum, then a bright flash filled the air. Ryan turned and covered the alien with his body as the wreck burst into fire. When the light faded, pieces of burning metal rained down around them. The alien opened her eyes slowly. She was breathing hard and her suit was torn at one side. A soft blue light came from a round device on her wrist. "Thank you," she said. "My name is Aria," Ryan nodded. "I'm Ryan, you're safe for now. But we need to move before that fire draws attention." He helped her sit up. Aria tried to stand but stumbled. Ryan caught her arm. Her body felt light, almost weightless, as if her bones were made of something other than human flesh. They walked through the desert, toward Ryan's old ground vehicle parked near a signal tower. The stars above seemed to follow them like silent watchers. When they reached the small camp, Ryan guided her into the shelter he used during his repair trips. Inside, the light was soft. He gave her water and wrapped a thermal blanket around her shoulders. She looked around, confused by the simple human tools and dusty walls. "You live alone here?" she asked. "Most of the time," he said. "I fix the towers. Keeps me busy." Aria touched the blanket as if testing its texture. "Your world is strange," she said. "So much air, so much silence." Ryan smiled a little. "You're far from home, I guess." Her eyes dimmed. "My ship was attacked near your moon. We tried to escape. The engines failed and I crashed here. My crew..." She stopped speaking and looked away. "I'm sorry," Ryan said quietly. She nodded without looking at him. Then her wrist device blinked red. She pressed it and a faint sound came from it like a coded signal. "My suit is damaged," she said. "If I remove it, my body will not survive your air for long." Ryan leaned closer. "Can you fix it?" She shook her head. "It needs power. My ship's core is destroyed. The energy I have left will last only a few hours." He stood up and began to gather tools. "Then I'll find a way to power it. Maybe I can connect it to one of my tower batteries." Aria looked at him with surprise. "You would do that for me?" "You crashed on my planet," Ryan said simply. "That makes you my guest." He went outside to the vehicle and started removing one of the heavy power cells. The wind had grown stronger and sand was moving across the ground. He carried the battery back inside and set it beside her. "Show me where to connect it." Arya hesitated. "If you open the panel on my back, you must be careful. The suit keeps me alive. A wrong touch could harm me." Ryan nodded. "Then guide me." She turned slowly, her silver hair falling forward. He lifted the edge of the torn suit and found a small socket shaped like a star. The design was beautiful and precise. He connected a wire from the power cell and waited. A moment later, the wrist device flashed green. A pulse of light spread across the suit. Arya gasped and her eyes brightened. The soft hum of the suit filled the air. "It works," she whispered. "You did it." Ryan stepped back, wiping sweat from his face. "Good, you'll live." Arya turned to him and said in a calm voice, "You should not have done that. Your energy cell will not power your machines now." "I'll manage," Ryan said. "Humans always do." For the first time, Arya smiled faintly. "You are not what I expected. My people were told humans are primitive, careless beings." "Maybe some are," Ryan said, "but not all of us." She looked at him with new respect. "You risked your life to save someone you never met." "Why?" Ryan looked at the firelight outside the shelter. "Because life is rare no matter where it comes from." The night grew colder. Arya sat quietly while Ryan fixed a small heater using spare wires. Outside, the desert stretched endless and silent, hiding the secrets of the fallen ship. Above them, 2 satellites moved slowly across the stars, blinking like distant eyes. Arya finally spoke again. "There is something I must tell you, Ryan. The attack that destroyed my ship may not be over. If they track my signal, they will come here." Ryan looked up sharply. "Who are they?" Her eyes darkened. "Hunters. They destroy what they cannot control, and they will see your world as a prize." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we better make sure they don't find you." He checked his tools again and began to think fast. He had saved an alien life, but now he might have put Earth in danger. Still, he knew one thing clearly. Whatever was coming, he would not run. Humans had survived worse, and they would survive this too. Arya watched him with quiet wonder. "Your kind is strange," she said softly. "You help without asking what you will gain." Ryan smiled faintly. "That's what makes us human." The wind outside rose again, carrying the smell of smoke from the wreck miles away. Above the dunes, a faint flash appeared in the sky, small, sharp, and moving fast. Arya's eyes widened. "They have found me," she whispered. Ryan turned to the horizon. The next night on Earth would not be quiet. Ryan stood at the doorway of his small shelter, watching the faint light move across the sky. It was not a star. The object blinked red and white, steady and slow, and then stopped moving as if hanging in the air. He knew it was not one of Earth's satellites. Behind him, Arya sat near the heater. The glow from her suit made her look calm, but her eyes showed fear. She held her wrist device and pressed a few buttons. A soft map appeared above it, floating in the air like mist. "They are here," she said quietly. "Their ship is in low orbit. They are scanning the area for me." Ryan closed the shelter door and turned off the main light. "Can they find us through your suit?" She shook her head. "Not yet. But if they detect my energy signal for too long, they will trace it." He thought for a moment. "Then we need to move." Arya looked weak, but she nodded. Ryan packed his bag quickly, filled 2 canisters with water, and checked his vehicle's charge. The sky was now darker, but flashes of light moved behind the clouds. The night was no longer calm. Ryan helped Arya into the vehicle. She looked at the dashboard with curiosity. "Your machines are simple," she said softly, "but strong. Humans build with heart, not perfection." Ryan smiled a little as he started the engine. "That is one way to say it." They drove through the desert, leaving the burning wreck far behind. The wind hit the windows and sand brushed against the glass like small waves. Ryan kept his eyes on the road while Arya stared at the stars above. "My world has no sky like this," she said. "We live under domes made of crystal and metal. The light of our sun is filtered through them. I never saw stars with my own eyes before today." Ryan listened quietly. "Maybe you were meant to see them here first," he said. Arya looked at him and smiled faintly. "You speak like someone who believes in meaning." "I believe that everything happens for a reason," Ryan replied. "Even a crash in the desert." For a while they drove in silence. Then Arya spoke again. "The hunters will not stop. They use machines that follow heat and sound. If they sense my ship's remains, they will know where to look next." "Then we stay ahead of them," Ryan said. After some time, they reached a rocky valley. The cliffs were tall and narrow, giving some protection from the open sky. Ryan parked the vehicle under a ledge and turned off the engine. "We can rest here for a while," he said. Arya stepped out and looked around. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the moonlight. She touched a rock and smiled. "Your planet feels alive. Even the stones have warmth." Ryan started setting up a small sensor grid that he used for tower repairs. "This will warn us if anything comes close," he said. "It is not made for aliens, but it is better than nothing." Arya watched him work. "You learn fast," she said. "Your kind adapts quickly. That is why the hunters fear you." Ryan looked at her. "Fear us? They do not even know us." "They know enough," she said. "Long ago they met your kind in the outer colonies. They studied humans and saw something dangerous. You grow faster than any race they have known. You turn weakness into strength. That frightens them." Ryan paused, holding a small circuit board in his hand. "So that is why they hunt you too?" Arya's voice lowered. "They hunt everyone who does not obey their rule. My people tried to stay hidden, but they found us. We ran, we hid, we built ships to escape. Now only a few of us remain." Ryan felt anger rise in his chest. "And now they bring that fight here," he said. Arya looked at him gently. "You do not need to fight them. If they find me, I will face them. You should run." He shook his head. "That is not how humans work." She looked at him puzzled. "You would fight for someone you just met?" "Yes," he said firmly. "Because right now you are not just an alien. You are someone who needs help. And humans protect those who need help." Arya looked away, her eyes shining in the faint light. She said nothing more. The night passed slowly. Ryan sat near the small fire while Arya rested. He kept his weapon close, though it was only a standard energy rifle used for defense against desert animals. He did not know if it would be useful against the hunters. Just before dawn, the sensor grid beeped. A single red light flashed on the screen. Ryan stood up at once. "Something is moving out there," he said. Arya opened her eyes. "How many?" "Only one signal," Ryan said. "Coming from the east." She walked to the entrance and looked through the rocks. A shadow moved between the dunes, tall and slow. The shape was metallic and glowing faintly blue. Arya's face became pale. "That is one of their drones," she whispered. "They are close." Ryan grabbed his rifle. "Can they see us yet?" "Not if we stay low," she said. "But once it scans the wreck, it will follow the energy trail here." Ryan thought quickly. "Then I will draw it away." Arya turned sharply. "No, you cannot face it alone. Their weapons can burn through steel." He looked at her with calm eyes. "Then tell me how to stop it." She hesitated, then opened a small compartment on her suit. Inside was a small crystal disc glowing with soft light. "This is a pulse key," she said. "If you place it near the drone's core, it will disable its systems. But you must get close." Ryan took the disc and nodded. "Close is what I do best." Arya looked at him as if she wanted to stop him, but she said nothing. Ryan moved out of the cave and began walking through the sand. The sun was just rising, painting the sky with red and gold. The drone's hum grew louder as he approached. It was large, shaped like a winged insect made of metal. Blue light moved along its body and a red eye glowed in the center. Ryan crouched behind a rock and watched its pattern. The drone moved in circles, scanning the ground with beams of light. Each time it turned, he moved closer. The wind covered his steps. When he was near enough, he took a deep breath and ran forward. The drone turned and spotted him. A beam of light shot out, burning the sand near his feet. Ryan rolled to one side, then jumped and grabbed onto one of the drone's lower arms. It shook violently, trying to throw him off. He climbed up, fighting against the metal surface that was hot from the sun. The red eye turned toward him, glowing brighter. He pressed the crystal disc against the glowing core. For a second, nothing happened. Then a bright flash burst from the center, and the drone stopped moving. Its lights went dark, and it fell to the ground with a heavy thud. Ryan jumped off just before it hit. He landed hard and rolled in the sand. When he stood up, smoke was rising from the drone's body. Arya ran to him, her suit shining in the morning light. "You did it," she said. Ryan smiled and handed her the now dark disk. "Looks like your device works." She looked at him with something close to awe. "No human should have survived that," she said. "Humans do not like being told what they cannot survive," Ryan said with a grin. Arya laughed softly, a sound like wind through glass. But her face soon turned serious again. "If one drone is here, the others will follow. They will not stop until they find me. Then we need to move again, Ryan said. But first we take what we can from this thing. Maybe its parts will help us fight. Together they opened the drone's shell. Inside were glowing circuits and strange cores that pulsed like hearts. Ryan collected what he could fit into his bag. Arya took a small blue shard and placed it in her suit. This will give me more power, she said, but it also makes it easier for them to find me. Ryan looked at her. We will think of a way to use it against them instead. As they worked, the sun rose higher. The sand began to burn under their feet and the air shimmered. Ryan looked toward the horizon. In the distance, faint shapes moved in the sky. Arya followed his gaze. Those are not clouds, she said. Those are ships. Ryan's hand tightened on his rifle. Then it begins. Arya looked at him with quiet strength. If they find us, they will destroy everything. You do not have to stay with me. He met her eyes. You are not alone here. If they come for you, they come for all of us. The wind picked up again, and the first shadow of the enemy ships passed across the sand. The fight for survival was no longer only hers. It was now a battle for both worlds. The desert was no longer silent. The sky above Ryan and Arya was filled with distant movement. The faint dots that had looked like clouds were now shaping into ships. Their surfaces glowed with blue fire, and their formation was steady and exact. Each one left a white trail behind, cutting through the sky like knives. Ryan stood on the rocky ledge beside their vehicle. His hand rested on the side of the mounted scanner. The screen showed several bright points moving fast toward their direction. He counted 6 large ships and many smaller signals. They are spreading out, he said. They will search everything. Arya stepped beside him. The light from her suit reflected off the scanner. They will use seekers first. Machines that track heat and sound. When they find me, the main ships will strike from orbit. Ryan frowned. If they strike from orbit, they will destroy half this desert. She nodded sadly. They do not care what burns. Ryan looked at the horizon. The sun was high, but the air was cold with fear. Then we have to stop them before that happens, he said. Arya turned to him. How? You are only one man with a simple weapon. Ryan gave a short smile. One man is enough if he knows where to aim. He began checking the drone parts he had taken earlier. The pieces were light and glowing with power. He placed them on the ground and started to connect wires from his tool pack. Arya watched in silence, trying to understand his plan. After a while, she spoke. You are building something. Trying to, he said. Your drone had energy cores stronger than anything we make here. If I link them to a tower transmitter, we can make a burst big enough to blind their scanners for a few minutes. Arya's eyes brightened. That could work, but the energy surge will also reveal our position. I know, Ryan said calmly. That is why we need to make it count. She looked at him, her face serious. You are willing to risk your life again. He kept working without looking up. You risked yours when you came here. Seems fair. For a while, the only sound was the clicking of tools and the soft hum of energy. The machine he built looked strange, half human and half alien in design. The glowing cores gave it a pulse like a beating heart. When he finished, Ryan stood and wiped his hands. If this works, he said, their scanners will lose sight of everything for a few minutes. That will give us time to reach the canyon near the old power station. Arya nodded. We can hide there. The rocks are thick with metal. Their sensors will not see through it. They packed their things and started the vehicle. As they drove, the sand lifted behind them like a golden wave. Above them, the alien ships moved closer. Ryan kept his eyes on the scanner. When they come within range, I will trigger the pulse, he said. Arya's hands tightened around the edge of her seat. If it fails, they will see us at once, he smiled slightly. Then let us hope I built it right. Minutes passed. The hum in the air grew louder. Ryan could feel the vibration through the metal floor of the vehicle. He looked at the small device on his dashboard. The red light on it turned green. Now, he said. He pressed the button. A wave of blue light spread from the back of the vehicle, moving across the sand like ripples on water. The scanner blinked and went dark for a moment. When it came back, the enemy signals were gone. It worked, Arya said, her voice full of surprise. Ryan grinned. Then let us move before they recover. They drove hard through the desert, following the shadow of the cliffs. The engine roared as the vehicle climbed a slope of broken stone. Arya held tight, watching the sky behind them. But their victory was short. In the distance, one of the smaller ships broke away from the group and turned sharply toward them. Its wings glowed as it descended. "They are coming again," Arya said. "They must have seen the energy flash." Ryan pushed the vehicle faster. "Hold on." The enemy ship fired a beam that struck the sand near them. The ground exploded, sending dust into the air. Ryan swerved sharply, keeping control as rocks fell from the cliffs around them. "We cannot outrun them for long," Arya said. Ryan looked at the map on his wrist. "The power station is 5 minutes ahead. We make it there, we fight from cover." Arya nodded and began pressing buttons on her suit. A faint field of light appeared around her. "I can use what energy I have left to shield us from one strike," she said. But only one. The ship fired again. This time the beam hit closer. Arya raised her hand and a bright shield flashed in front of the vehicle. The beam hit it and scattered into sparks. The shield vanished and Arya fell back weakly. Ryan caught her arm. "You all right?" She nodded slowly. "The power is low. I cannot do it again." "Then I will handle the next one," Ryan said. The old power station appeared ahead, half buried in sand. Its towers were broken and the metal walls were rusted, but it still stood strong. Ryan drove straight inside and parked the vehicle under the main structure. He jumped out and grabbed his rifle. "We make our stand here," he said. Arya stood beside him, weak but steady. "You are brave for a man of a peaceful world," she said. He smiled. "Peace is worth fighting for." The enemy ship came closer. Its shadow covered the ground and the noise was like thunder. Ryan aimed his rifle and fired. The beam hit the ship's hull but did little damage. The ship turned and fired back. The blast tore through the outer wall, sending metal flying. Ryan ducked and pulled Arya behind a broken pipe. "That thing is too strong," he said. Arya looked around and saw a large generator still connected to power lines. "We can overload it," she said. "If the ship comes closer, the blast will destroy it." Ryan nodded. "Tell me what to do," she pointed at the controls. "Turn all the energy valves open, then cut the safety locks. The pressure will rise until it bursts." Ryan ran to the control panel. The old buttons were dusty and cracked, but they still worked. He turned the valves, then pulled the main lever. The sound of rising energy filled the room. The enemy ship lowered itself toward the ground. Its weapons began to charge again. Arya watched it and shouted, "Now, Ryan!" He hit the last switch. The generator glowed white and a wave of light burst outward. The explosion was bright enough to blind him for a moment. The ship above them shook, its wings tearing apart as flames rose from its engines. It crashed into the sand with a sound like thunder. Ryan dropped to the ground, covering his face. When the light faded, he looked up and saw the wreck burning outside. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Arya stood nearby, breathing hard. Her suit flickered but still glowed. She looked at Ryan with wide eyes. "You destroyed one of their ships," she said. "No human has ever done that." Ryan smiled tiredly. "Guess we just made history." But Arya did not smile. She looked toward the sky again. "The others will come now." "They will not stop." Ryan walked to her side. "Then we will keep fighting. Maybe not with big ships or fancy weapons, but we will fight." Arya turned to him. "Why do you do this, Ryan?" "You could hide. You could run and save yourself." He looked at the smoke rising from the wreck. "Because this is my home. And no one takes it without a fight." Arya's eyes softened. "My people never had such courage. Maybe that is why we lost our worlds." Ryan placed a hand on the broken wall. "Then maybe Earth will be different. Maybe together we can stop them." For a moment they stood in silence, watching the fire burn. Then Arya touched her wrist device. "If I can reach my people through the deep net, they will hear this. They will know a human fought beside me." Ryan nodded. "Send the message. The galaxy should know that we do not bow to hunters." She smiled for the first time that day. "You speak like a leader." He laughed softly. "I fix towers and machines. I am no leader." "Maybe not yet," she said. "But heroes never start as leaders." The wind carried her words across the broken station. Above them, the other ships were now moving faster. Their lights grew brighter, their paths clear. The battle was not over. Arya finished sending her message. She turned to Ryan. "When they arrive, there will be many. You cannot fight them all." Ryan checked his rifle and the small drone cores he had left. "Then we find a way to even the odds." She looked at him with quiet pride. Humans truly are something incredible. The two stood side by side as the sky began to burn again. The war for Earth had only begun, and a human and an alien girl were ready to face it together. The sun had climbed high above the desert, turning the sand into a bright sea of gold. Ryan and Arya moved cautiously toward the narrow canyon that stretched between two rocky hills. The canyon was their only hope. Its walls were tall, thick with layers of stone and metal, and would shield them from the hunters' scanners. Arya walked beside Ryan, her suit glowing faintly. Every step was slow and careful, as the energy from her device was still low. "We need to reach the canyon before the main fleet arrives," she said. Ryan nodded. "Then we keep moving. The desert will hide us for a little while." The first challenge came almost immediately. A small drone rose from the sand ahead. It hovered silently, scanning with a blue light. Ryan crouched behind a rock, whispering to Arya, "It sees us. We need to act fast." Arya pressed a small button on her wrist. A pulse of light shot outward, temporarily confusing the drone's sensors. The machine hesitated, then spun in circles, trying to recover. "Go," Arya whispered. Ryan grabbed her arm and they sprinted across the sand. Their feet kicked up small clouds of dust, but the drone's vision remained scrambled. They reached the canyon entrance, slipping behind a jagged rock formation. Inside the canyon, the air was cooler. Shadows stretched long along the walls and the sand was mixed with small stones. Ryan paused, checking the path ahead. "We are safe here for now," he said. Arya examined the walls carefully. "We can set traps," she said. "If the hunters follow, they will not know what hits them." Ryan looked at her curiously. "Traps?" She nodded. "Their machines rely on energy cores. If we overload one core with a magnetic pulse, it can disable others nearby. We can turn their strength into weakness." Ryan smiled faintly. "That sounds like a plan." They moved deeper into the canyon, arranging small devices and energy cores they had recovered from the drone. Arya guided Ryan with precise instructions, her knowledge of alien technology combined with his human ingenuity. They created a pattern of traps that would confuse the enemy and give them a chance to strike. Hours passed as they worked. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows through the canyon. Arya's energy was almost gone, and Ryan could see the fatigue in her movements. He offered her water and rested for a moment himself. "You are strong," Arya said quietly. "Stronger than any human I expected." Ryan shook his head. "I am not special. I just refuse to give up." A faint rumble in the sky made both of them look up. Several ships had broken formation and were approaching the canyon. The hunters were coming faster than they had expected. Ryan checked the traps they had set. "We can slow them," he said, "but we cannot stop all of them." Arya touched his shoulder. "Then we make this one count. We fight smart, not just hard." The first small drone entered the canyon. It hovered silently, scanning the ground. Ryan activated the first trap, and a magnetic pulse erupted from the wall. The drone froze, its systems disrupted. Sparks flew and it fell sideways onto the sand. Arya smiled faintly. "Good, that will slow the others." Ryan moved to the next trap. The drones followed one after another, drawn by the energy signals Arya had left. Each time the pulse disabled them temporarily, giving Ryan and Arya a moment to adjust their position. Suddenly, a large ship descended into the canyon entrance. Its engines roared and heat waves shimmered in the air. Ryan aimed his rifle, but the weapons were too small to penetrate its hull. Arya pressed a button on her wrist. "I can amplify one of the traps," she said. "It may damage the hull." Ryan nodded. "Do it." Arya focused her energy, sending a pulse through the canyon walls. The large ship shuddered as the magnetic energy interfered with its systems. Sparks flew along its surface and a panel on its side opened. The ship wobbled, struggling to maintain altitude. Ryan grinned. "Now we make it fall." He directed Arya's energy toward the smaller drones still active. They collided with the walls or each other, creating a chain reaction that destabilized the large ship further. It tilted and crashed into the canyon side with a thunderous sound. Dust and metal fragments filled the air. Arya collapsed against a rock, breathing heavily. "That was close," she said. Ryan helped her up. "We did it," he said. "But more will come. They never stop." She looked at him with concern. "Your people are not ready for this kind of war." "You risk too much," Ryan shook his head. "If someone does not fight, nothing will survive." Arya took a deep breath. "Then we prepare for the next wave. They will learn from this. They will send more ships faster and stronger." Ryan checked the remaining traps. "We need to move supplies, make more traps, and find a way to signal for help. Maybe your people will hear us now." Arya nodded and accessed her wrist device. "I sent the message earlier. My people know we are alive. If they respond, we may have reinforcements soon. Ryan glanced at the canyon walls. We cannot wait. We fight with what we have. The sky above darkened as evening approached. Shadows stretched long over the desert floor. The distant hum of engines signaled the arrival of more ships. Ryan and Arya moved quietly, checking each trap and preparing for the next attack. Hours passed and the night grew colder. The canyon walls protected them from most of the wind, but the sound of distant engines made the ground vibrate. Arya's energy was nearly depleted, and Ryan knew she could not hold much longer. We need a plan, Ryan said quietly. We cannot fight forever like this. Arya looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. We will need to lure them into a trap they do not expect. Something clever. Humans are good at that, Ryan smiled. Then let us be clever. They moved deeper into the canyon, using the terrain to hide their presence. The ships above could see the canyon entrance, but not the small paths inside. Arya guided him, pointing out areas where energy could be amplified or redirected. The first small drone appeared again. Ryan and Arya were ready. They activated one of the hidden traps. The drone froze, then crashed into the canyon wall. Sparks flew as it broke apart. Arya whispered, "Good. Now the larger ships will follow." Ryan readied his rifle and moved to a higher position. We make our stand here. If they come too close, we strike hard. Minutes passed. The hum of engines grew louder. Shadows moved along the canyon walls as the hunters approached. Ryan and Arya stayed still, waiting for the right moment. Finally, the large ships descended into the canyon. Ryan activated the next set of traps. Magnetic pulses hit the hulls, causing sparks and smoke. The ships wobbled and a smaller one collided with a wall. Arya focused her remaining energy, sending another pulse through the canyon. The largest ship tilted dangerously, then crashed with a loud explosion. Dust and debris filled the canyon, blocking the path behind them. Ryan looked at Arya. We stopped them. For now. She shook her head. This is only the beginning. They will not give up. We must find allies and stronger weapons. Ryan nodded. Then we prepare. Humans always find a way. Arya smiled faintly. I begin to understand your kind. You are fearless, resourceful, and determined. Ryan glanced at the burning wrecks. That is what makes humans incredible. The canyon was quiet again, but the air was thick with tension. Dust settled on the sand, and the night sky reflected the fires of the destroyed ships. Ryan and Arya knew that more danger would come, but they also knew that together they could face it. The battle had shown them that courage and intelligence could turn the tide, even against impossible odds. For the first time, Arya felt hope. With a human by her side, survival was not just a dream, it was a plan. Ryan checked the last traps and looked toward the horizon. We hold this canyon. We make our stand. If they come again, they will learn that humans do not give up. Arya touched his arm lightly. Then we fight not for survival alone, but for life, for freedom, and for a future where your world and mine can exist. Ryan smiled. Exactly. That is why we are incredible. They stood together, watching the night settle over the desert. The fires of the fallen ships burned slowly, lighting the canyon walls with a golden glow. They knew the hunters would return, but they also knew they were ready. The first human and the alien girl had become partners. They were the beginning of something greater, something that could change the future of both their worlds. The night was calm over the canyon, but the quiet was deceptive. Ryan and Arya knew the hunters would return, stronger and faster than before. The air smelled faintly of smoke from the ships they had destroyed, and the sand was still warm under their feet. Ryan checked the remaining traps for the last time. Each device was connected carefully, with energy cores placed in precise positions along the canyon walls. The plan was simple. Force the enemy ships into the canyon, overload their systems, and take out as many as possible before reinforcements arrived. Arya stood beside him, her suit glowing faintly blue. She had barely enough energy left for one strong pulse. We may not survive if they attack all at once, she said softly. Ryan shook his head. Then we make every move count. Humans always find a way, even in impossible situations. Arya studied him. You truly are different from any human I have heard about. You fight with courage, but also with intelligence. Ryan smiled faintly. That is how humans survive. We do not rely only on strength. We think, we plan, and we act. Above them, the faint hum of engines grew louder. The first shadows appeared against the canyon walls. Smaller drones hovered at the edges, scanning for heat and energy signals. "Stay low," Ryan whispered. "Let them come to us." The first drone entered the canyon. Aria pressed a button on her wrist. A pulse of light shot from her suit, confusing the drone's sensors. The machine wobbled, then crashed into the canyon wall. Ryan moved to the first trap and activated it. The energy pulse shot outward, striking another drone. Sparks flew as it fell to the sand. Aria directed Ryan to the remaining traps. Together, they created a deadly path through the canyon. Each step was calculated. Each move was precise. The hunters, confident in their technology, had no idea they were walking into a carefully crafted plan. Minutes passed, and the larger ships arrived. Their engines roared, shaking the canyon floor. They moved too fast to be dodged. Ryan glanced at Aria. "Now," he said. Aria pressed her wrist device, sending her last pulse through the canyon. The walls lit up with energy, magnetic fields stretching across the rock faces. The largest ship shuddered as sparks flew from its engines. Smaller ships collided with each other, destabilized by the energy waves. Ryan ran from trap to trap, activating them at the right moment. The drones crashed, the hulls burned, and one by one the enemy machines fell, but the largest ship remained. Its weapons charged, aiming directly at the canyon walls. Ryan knew it could destroy everything they had built. "We need a human move," he said quietly. "Something they will not expect." Aria looked at him. "What do you mean?" Ryan pointed to the energy cores he had connected along the canyon floor. "If I manually overload all the cores at once, the explosion will destroy the ship. It will also destroy part of the canyon, but we can survive if we time it right." Aria's eyes widened. "That is too dangerous." "You could die." Ryan shook his head. "It is the only way. If we do not act now, they will come back stronger." "I cannot risk that," Aria hesitated. Then she pressed her hand gently on his shoulder. "I trust you, Ryan. Do it." He moved quickly, connecting wires, adjusting energy flows, and setting the timing devices. His hands moved with precision, his mind focused entirely on the task. Aria watched, her suit flickering as she provided the final energy link. The enemy ship fired again, striking the canyon walls. Rocks fell around them, but Ryan did not flinch. He completed the last connection and checked the timer. 10 seconds, get ready," he said. Aria nodded, stepping back behind a rock. The pulse from her suit would shield them from the initial shock, but the rest depended on timing. The timer reached 0. Ryan pressed the final lever. Energy surged through the canyon walls, the cores ignited, and a massive wave of magnetic force erupted. The largest ship shuddered violently, sparks flying from its engines. Its weapons went offline, and the hull cracked under the pressure. Rocks and debris exploded into the air as the canyon itself seemed to roar. Aria's shield protected them both from the worst of it. The energy pulse spread through the canyon, striking the enemy ship directly. The ship tilted, then fell sideways, crashing into the canyon floor. A loud explosion shook the ground. Dust and metal filled the air, flames rising from the wreck. The smaller ships had been destroyed or scattered. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Ryan and Aria emerged from behind the rocks. The canyon was a battlefield of sand, smoke, and fire. The enemy was gone. For the first time in days, the desert was quiet. Aria looked at him, eyes wide with disbelief. "You did it," she whispered. "No human could have done this." Ryan laughed softly, brushing the dust from his clothes. "Humans do incredible things when they have to. That is what makes us." "Us," she smiled faintly. "You are truly amazing. I have never seen courage like yours." He shook his head. "It is not just me. You guided me. Your knowledge and trust made this possible." Aria stepped closer. "Together then," she said. "Humans and aliens side by side." Ryan nodded. "Yes, together." The two of them began walking through the canyon, inspecting the damage. The remains of the enemy ship smoldered, but there was no sign of life. Aria's wrist device beeped softly. A faint signal had been received from her people. "They heard us," she said. "Help is coming," Ryan smiled. "Then we are not alone anymore." The first rays of dawn lit the canyon walls. The fire from the wrecks reflected off the stone, casting golden light across the sand. Aria touched a fragment of the largest ship and looked at it carefully. "They will rebuild," she said quietly, "and they may return." Ryan nodded. "Then we will be ready. Humans survive, adapt, and fight. We do not surrender." Aria looked at him, her expression serious. Your people have courage. You are the first human I have ever trusted to face such danger. He laughed softly. Then I will not let you down. The desert was calm again. The smoke rose slowly from the wrecks, carrying the scent of victory. Aria's suit glowed faintly, fully recharged from the remaining energy cores. We should prepare for their return, she said. But for now we rest, Ryan agreed. Even heroes need rest sometimes. They found a small shelter in the canyon using rocks and debris for cover. The fire from the destroyed ships burned faintly nearby, giving them light and warmth. Aria sat down, exhausted but smiling. You are incredible, Ryan, she said softly. I have learned more about humans than I ever expected. He smiled faintly. And I have learned that the galaxy is bigger and stranger than I imagined. But we can survive if we trust each other. The night passed quietly. The desert winds blew gently and the stars twinkled above. Aria and Rian rested, ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. The battle had been won, but the war was not over. Yet they had proved one thing. Humans with courage, intelligence, and determination could face even the greatest threats. Together, a human and an alien girl had changed the course of their worlds. As dawn broke fully, Ryan looked at Aria and said, We may be small against the galaxy, but we are not powerless. We can make a difference, Aria nodded. Then let us prepare. For them, for our worlds, and for the future. The desert was quiet, but the promise of hope burned brightly. A human and an alien girl stood side by side, ready to face the unknown. The galaxy would remember that night, the night when humans showed what they could do, and when courage and friendship became stronger than any weapon. Rian and Aria walked forward, leaving the canyon behind, ready to face a future they would shape together.